Greetings, people who really like the accordion or pretend to really like the accordion to gain favor from those who really like the accordion. Today I want to talk about this accordion that I bought the day after I got my toy accordion. This is an Italo-American beginner's 12-bass model. That's what the company called it when it first came out. And it came in black, red, or blue. Right? And I have the black one, but it came in red and blue. And I saw a red one on the internet. I saw a woman playing a red one, and she plays very well. The accordion was made in the early 50s in a factory in Chicago, and to the very best of my knowledge, I am the second owner. Now, before I talk about the bass reeds, which are the part that I find most interesting, I wanted to mention a couple things about the treble side. The treble keyboard on this model has what traditionally would be called octave doubling. Now, you know from my previous videos that I call it octave lining, but they would call it octave doubling. In other words, tones at an octave would sound. Now, here's an example, all right? If you press the C5 key, okay, what you're actually hearing is a C4 tone and a C5 tone. That's what they would call octave doubling. When you press that C5 key, you get a C4 and a C5. So most people can't tell because they don't have super hearing, but you would be hearing along with, you'd be hearing both at the same time. All right? Now, this company, to the best of my knowledge, went with the octave sound, which we just talked about. We just talked about the C5 key, for example, and you would hear C4 and C5. But other companies go for the musette sound. In other words, when you press the C5 key on their accordion, which would have the same treble range and the same buttons, you would hear two C5s. To get that musette sound, you would hear two C5s, and one of them would be tuned to concert pitch, normal pitch, and one would probably be tuned a little sharper, or a little flatter, but usually sharper. So that's how they would get that musette sound. It's a different sound than what you get with this octave setup. And it's very, very nice. But considering that I'm kind of not a great accordion player, and considering I got this at an excellent price from some really nice people, southwest of Dillsburg, really nice husband and wife, beautiful people with beautiful family. So considering that, I'm happy with this sound. It's a really nice sound. The reeds are better quality than my large Atlas accordion. They're better quality than my Atlas. Okay, now, moving on to the bass reeds. This is the fun part. If we had a switch over here for the bass machine, all right, which we don't need, but if we had a switch here, that register switch would look like this. Now, as you know from my previous videos, this is the symbol I use in my notes, and this is the symbol you might see on the actual switch. Okay? You would see the alto dot, the contralto dot, the tenor dot, and the bass dot in the symbol, and you could call that the alto, contralto, tenor, bass register switch, or you could refer to it as the alto through bass switch. Either way, this is what you would have if you had a switch over here, but since there's only one register here, you don't need it. Anyway, that's the symbol. Now also, I failed to mention in my previous videos, when I'm speaking about ranges, tonal ranges, I'm referring to those that pertain to the accordion reed sets. And I've showed you this handy chart many, many times, right, many times. And I wanted to make it clear that I am not referring to the voice ranges, the vocal ranges, the sounds we get from when we sing, and they're different. Now this is just a general layout here. This is not perfect. It's just general. But you would have soprano, alto, tenor, bass, and a few others. But the point is, these ranges, all right, are different ranges than the ones we refer to when we talk about the accordion. They're different. So I'm referring to these when I'm talking. All right? Now, the large accordions that are called 120 bass accordions, well, people nitpick and argue about it, and usually I'm very fussy about terminology, almost neurotic, but I understand what they're saying. When we talk about the 120 bass accordion, we're not actually talking about 120 actual basses. There's really only 12 actual basses, and those 12 are duplicated. There's duplicates. But what they really mean is when you see this 120 bass phrase, this compound word, what you're really seeing is 120 bass machine buttons. That's what they're saying. There's 120 bass machine buttons. All right? Now, when you look at this and you call this a 12 bass accordion, all right, there's only actually 6 bass buttons. There's 6 actual bass buttons, but there are in total 12 bass machine buttons. So just to make that clear, for those who are really, really fussy, the 120 bass accordion, what they really mean by that compound word or that phrase, if you take out the hyphen, would mean a 120 bass machine buttons accordion. That's what they really mean by that. So I wanted to make that clear so we don't get confused for those who are beginners. Because on the 120 bass accordion, you'll have basically 12 foundation bass notes, but the rest of the counterbass and bass buttons are technically speaking, or enharmonically speaking, duplicates of those 12 basic bass buttons. Okay? I wanted to throw that in. Now, the really good stuff is this Italo-American 12 bass accordion has buttons to press to get your bass tones and buttons to press to get your chord tones. And for the bass, you see that you have tenor tones sounding along with bass tones. So let's say you play that B flat bass button, you're going to hear a B flat 3 and a B flat 2. That's what you're going to hear over here. So I opened up this accordion, I opened it up and I checked all the reeds, and to verify this, I can tell by listening, by hearing, but I wanted to verify it, and that's what you're getting in there. For your bass tones, you're getting this setup here. You can print screen or pause. And then for your chord tones, what you have inside is you have kind of 2 reed sets that would be alto and contralto, and you would get these tones that sound when you play the chord buttons. Now over here, let's say we pressed a B flat chord button. So what you're hearing then inside is these tones. B flat 4, F4, D4, B flat 3. I hope I'm speaking correctly because I went back to using my little iPhone. So anyway, that's your chord tones. Alright? Then you have your bass and chord tones, and that's what you get inside this accordion. And I wanted to mention that my toy accordion, which I did talk about, has no thirds in the chord buttons. The thirds are missing. All right, but in the Italo-American accordion, this one, there are thirds. They will sound. The thirds are sounding. And then my big Atlas accordion, which isn't really big, it's actually the stroller size. The thirds are there also, and you can hear them. Now, once my wife gets done learning on this accordion and she's outgrown it, I will disable the thirds in here, which will allow me to play either minor or major chords with these chord buttons. See, I'll disable them. Oh, they'll still be in there, but I'll make sure they don't work. That way they can be changed back someday. So another thing I wanted to mention quickly, I know I take too long, is ordinarily when you have a 120 bass Stradella bass machine, you know, a full one, what happens is when you press a bass button on that accordion, a bass button on a 120 bass Stradella, what will happen is if you press, let's say, a C4, well, if there's any C4 in any of these reeds, it will sound. If you press a bass button, if there's a C4 in any of these reed sets, it will sound. But if you press one of the chord buttons, all right, that's the C4 only in one of these two reed sets will sound. The C4, if there's any, in these reed sets will not sound. Now I have to say that because what we have here is a difference in machine works. In other words, how the bass machine actually works. And if you take this apart, which I won't, you'll be able to see what I'm saying. In a 120 bass system, I just explained that. But in this so-called 12 bass system or 12 bass machine button accordion, you have something different. When you press those bass buttons, only the bass tones will sound. Oh, let's say a C3. Now, down here when you press a chord button, all right, only that C3, which I don't even think there is one, but let's say there was a C3 here. Only those tones in the alto or contralto reed set would sound. So it's different than the 120 bass, because here, when you press a bass button, nothing in your alto or contralto reed set are sounding. And that's that. And that's the difference. Okay? And then inside this machine, what I call the reed block sets, in other words, the reed sets, I call the alto one, I call it an extended alto, okay, because it goes a little lower than the regular alto and a little higher, and I call it an extended contralto reed set because it starts a little bit higher than the typical accordion contralto, and it goes just a little bit higher. So I just call those reed sets extended. All right, I'm going as fast as I can. And then I want to thank, again, this is very important, a man named Gennady Lazarov, who has a store called the Accordion Gallery. You can find it on the internet. And he has beautiful accordions, and he's incredibly knowledgeable on the accordion. And he was the man who helped me understand this stuff really, really well. Great guy, sent me email after email and explained everything thoroughly so that I wouldn't speak incorrectly or speak horribly. And that's it. Thank you for being incredibly patient, and I will really, really like this accordion because it's handy. It's lightweight. You can play a lot of stuff on it, and it has really good quality reeds, better than my other accordion. That's it. Thank you for being incredibly patient, and hope to see you soon.